people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
But you know, there's been one guy that I've been really, interested in fighting the most out of all of the champions, and that's Nick Ball. And when it comes to him, I really respect his fighting style. I like how he fights. I like, that rough, tough approach and everything like that. He wears hard on his sleeve kind of thing, right? But when it comes to making a fight happen, I was ranked number 2 in the WBA. And his team finds any and every excuse not to fight me. You know what I'm saying? Top Rank, they call, George Warren, the team, everything, and to try to make the fight happen. And George Warren on something they'll never make the fight because they're trying to save Nick Ball for Inoue.
Hold on.
That's the story according to Shushu Carrington. I don't think that Nick is afraid of Bruce Carrington per se, shaking in his boots and hiding under his bed, but I do think that to Nick Ball, Shushu is more trouble than he's worth. I believe that Nick has successfully defended his WBA title about 3 times now. He's ready to unify. That's what they've been talking about post-fight. I remember hearing that they're targeting Angelo Leo, this division's IBF champion, for a unification match, and so I could forgive Nick not fighting Shushu if he is fighting Angelo Leo. And there is the matter of his mandatory challenger to address as well. Nick Ball has a mandatory challenger already installed in Argentina's own Mirko Coelho. So when Nick doesn't fight Bruce, is it a duck? I like Bruce. I like the way he carries himself outside of the ring and how he handles himself inside of the ring. I see a champion in Bruce Carrington, but he won't become one pursuing Nick. Nick isn't going to give him a shot just for the sake of giving him a shot. The only way Bruce gets a shot at Nick Ball voluntarily is perhaps if Turkey offers him a boatload of cash to do it. It's the only way I see it happening, and that's the only way I see Team Ball taking on that risk. And like I said, he's got a mandatory already installed, so I'm not even sure he's at liberty right now to take another voluntary. The only way around it would have to be a unification match, which Team Ball say they're after, say they want.
Bruce.
Bruce is in line to fight for the WBC title that Stephen Fulton is sure to vacate in the not-so-distant future, ahead of his move up in weight and his fight against WBC champion O'Shaquie Foster. He's made it very clear he won't be returning to featherweight. He's already outgrown it, just 2 fights in. He's gonna drop the belt. When he drops it, Bruce can catch it. But of course, it's not the same thing winning a vacant title as it is to beat a champion in order to be a champion. That does a lot more for Bruce's marketability and his profile if he were able to fight Stephen, some other champion at this weight. There is Rafael Espinoza, this division's WBO champion, who's said to be returning to action before this year is out, south of the border, against former champion Luis Lopez. Rafael Espinoza and Bruce Carrington are both tied to Top Rank, who has yet to announce a new broadcast partner for any shows for what remains of this year. Another hindrance for Bruce. Rafael Espinoza isn't missing a beat because he's co-promoted by both Top Rank and Zenfer. So at a time where Top Rank can't do much for him, Zenfer can still keep him busy. But Bruce, what about Bruce? He's gotta wait, I guess. Wait for Top Rank to get back on their feet, wait for them to start doing shows again, and to get his crack at the apple to fight for that WBC title. It looks like he's waiting on them. The other hindrance is that Bruce is not some young teen or tween. This is a guy in his late 20s. He's not going to be able to keep making featherweight forever. He may stay there long enough to see himself become a world champion, but I don't get the sense he'll have enough time to go on an undisputed run. Not before his body outgrows this weight. It's not his fault. None of this stuff is his fault. When he says that he wants these fights, I believe him, but there are so many moving parts at 126, so much going on, and so much that isn't. His career feels like it's being stifled. Stifled by what is outside of his control. North of Feather, at Super Feather, WBC champion O'Shaquie Foster blames Emmanuel Navarrete, Lamont Roach, and Anthony Cacace for unification failures. These guys have had so many chances to unify with me, the 32-year-old told Boxing News. I've asked for each one of them. I've been in negotiations with each one of them, and none of them wanted to unify. I'm talking about Lamont Roach, Navarrete, and not Nunez after he became a champion, but before he won the IBF title. We were supposed to get it on, and they turned it down. All of these guys don't be wanting to fight. I don't put too much pressure on it, unifying the division anymore, because you can't force them to fight me. Frustrated, Foster has been left to search elsewhere for his opportunities. When considering that both Foster and Navarrete fight under the same promotional banner as well, it is especially bewildering that Icewater has encountered this rather undesirable juncture in his career. We're with the same people, Top Rank, so we've inquired about fighting Navarrete, but they've been saying no, Foster said. We had the same talks with Roach, but I guess he felt he wasn't going to get paid enough for us to unify. Even before Nunez collected the IBF strap, Foster was in talks to face Anthony Cacace, who held the red and gold belt at the time, with a view to unify the division earlier this year. Cacace instead vacated his title and secured a 9th-round stoppage win over Lee Wood back in May, with a call-out to Foster arriving soon after. Wait a minute. He vacated the title, then he called out Foster? Why? To get out of fighting his mandatory challenger at the time, Sugar Nunez, who went on to become the new IBF champion. Anthony didn't want to roll the dice with him. He instead elected to have a money fight with Lee Wood that he won, and afterwards he called out O'Shaquie. Well, that was pretty fucking pointless. At that point though, the American was no longer interested in facing the Belfast man. We were trying to make the Cacace fight happen in the UK earlier this year, before he fought Lee Wood, Foster said. We could have unified the titles, but then he called me out after the Wood fight, so it's like, bro, you don't have anything I want anymore. He, Cacace, got scared of this man Nunez, who got scared of me. I don't blame O'Shaquie Foster for being frustrated. I mean, after he became a champion, Top Rank made the decision to pick him up, and Emmanuel Navarrete was already over there, so why wasn't there more of an effort to do that fight? According to O'Shaquie, it's because Emmanuel didn't want it. That's his version of the story. Oddly enough, Emmanuel is the one going into a unification match. At least that's the story, according to Chava, ESPN. According to Chava, while Emmanuel Navarrete will not be returning to the ring before this year is out, he may return to it early next year in a unification match with Sugar Nunez for both the WBO and IBF titles. So, wait a minute. Top Rank didn't try to make Navarrete versus Foster, but they will allow Navarrete versus Nunez. Why? Because they ain't the ones paying for it. I'm of the opinion that if we get Navarrete versus Nunez, it's gonna be on Matchroom's dime, not Top Rank's. To do Navarrete versus Foster, Top Rank would have had to pay for the whole show, the whole thing, all by themselves. But if they rent out Emmanuel, if they let him cross over to Matchroom to box their man, Sugar Nunez, they get a piece of the pie out of his purse without having to stake any of their own money. So that might explain why Top Rank would allow this unification match and not the other. O'Shaquie is en route to defend his WBC title against Stephen Fulton over there on the PBC side of things, and he better make it a decisive win. He better make sure it's not close. He better. Because he is as good as the away fighter on a PBC undercard against a PBC fighter. My opinion, he needs to stop Stephen Fulton. He needs to knock him out. A fight that I interpret as being a byproduct of O'Shaquie Foster's frustrations. Situation would have grown desperate if he's voluntarily defending his WBC title against a PBC guy on a PBC show. Good luck to him, because I think he's gonna need it. Over to the Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul joke fight, Coach Calvin Ford, Gervonta's longtime trainer, released this lengthy statement about the gloves ahead of the match. He said, "Hi everyone, this is Coach Calvin. I want to retract some of my previous statements and share a clearer perspective. First and foremost, Tank's safety is my top priority. He's the one stepping into the ring, and I'm committed to protecting him while also supporting his performance. From our conversations, I understand Tank's viewpoints on glove size. He expressed a preference for larger gloves, and I respect that. I've learned that the team reached a mutual agreement on the gloves, and I recognize the importance of balance, safety, performance, and fairness for both fighters. I want to emphasize that this is an exhibition bout.
Wait, what?
And my goal is to evaluate the fight from every angle, with Tank's best interests at heart. Tank is grown and capable of making his own career decisions, and I support him as both a coach and a dad. As a coach who believes in discipline and preparation, I'll continue to prioritize Tank's safety and get him ready when the night comes. There won't be an A side or a B side, but God's side. There will be two competitors giving their best, and the best fighter will win. Thank you all for understanding my stance and for supporting Tank. See you November 14th in Miami, perhaps for the last time."
Curious that Calvin Ford called this an exhibition. He wanted to emphasize that this is an exhibition where MVP is billing it as a real fight with a real outcome. So which one is it, and what is it that Calvin Ford knows that we don't?
I really don't give a shit what it is, to be honest with you. So long as Gervonta Davis retires afterwards, I'm happy. And that's what I've been telling you he would do. That he's not going to do the dance with Jake Paul, make all this money, and then
go back to regular fights for regular money? I don't think so. You can't pay him enough to fight Shakur Stevenson, and we've been all through that. We're not going to do it again. We won't have to anymore. And I consider that cause for celebration.
the sooner he's gone, the better. Once he's fully gone and he drops the WBA title, it will likely go to Floyd Schofield, who's set to be facing Jojo Diaz in a keep busy fight.
Yeah, Golden Boy's going to be pushing for that because they don't have that many champions on their side.
And the WBA title will be back in circulation where it has not been for some time now. Gervonta Davis holding it hostage, not looking to unify it with anybody.
Once he's gone, it'll be back in circulation, and I would consider that cause for celebration.
Once he's gone, he can take his idiot box fans with him, who do little more than make excuses for all of the fights he doesn't have. I don't imagine they're gonna stay all that interested in boxing because I'm of the opinion you can't be a Gervonta Davis fan and a boxing fan at the same time.
Fan of boxing wants to see the best fight the best, wants to see titles get unified, none of which you get from Gervonta Davis. So anybody who presumes to be a fan of him, I'm of the opinion they can't be a boxing fan. So they'll go away.
A portion of them. They will fade into the background, maybe transition over to other sports. Who knows and who cares?
The content creators.
For some years now, there have been a good number of channels, very big ones here in the YouTube boxing space, that rely on making videos about Gervonta and whatever's in the surrounding environment.
Whatever relates to Gervonta Davis.
Consider that a lot of those content creators will not have Gervonta to make videos about anymore, and that could hit them in the pocket, theoretically. I remember when Deontay Wilder lost to Tyson Fury. There were a lot of channels, they stopped talking about boxing, they stopped making content altogether, and some that remained,
they were making a lot of money riding that wave of Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, the fight happening, the fight not happening. Very good metrics, very good money, but after he lost,
their metrics started to nosedive. You can go back, you can see it for yourself. A portion of the YouTube boxing community whose sole focus was pandering to the Haymanites, any Al Heyman fighters like Deontay Wilder, Errol Spence Jr.
It's pretty bad when he lost too.
That was another critical blow to the PBC boxing sphere, and what boxing fans might have frequented YouTube to hear stories about those fighters. Well, after Errol lost to Terrence, You don't got him to make videos about anymore because he hasn't boxed since then. It's all just rumors and rumblings about a comeback.
For the last 2 years, rumors and rumblings, but nothing palpable.
There was a time where pandering to the Haymanites was very lucrative for a content creator, but it would seem that time has long since passed. And with Gervonta Davis's potential departure from the sport of boxing, that is one less fighter they'll have to talk about. So tell me, if you think they'll stay interested in boxing...
You think they're gonna start watching Queensberry Promotions shows? Matchroom shows? Boxer shows? You think they care about international fighters? They don't.
These are the people that would tear down Alexander Usyk's undisputed run, Inoue's undisputed run. These are the guys that hate everybody that's not a Heyman fighter.
So when Al Heyman is down to just 2 flagship fighters, Gervonta Davis, who's about to retire, and David Benavidez, who seems to have jumped ship and started twerking for the Turk.
What is supposed to keep these quote-unquote boxing fans interested?
You think they're all of a sudden going to become
Shakur fans?
Shakur Stevenson fans or Devin Haney fans? And how will the content creators compensate for the revenue they can't make talking about Gervonta?
I forecasted this a while ago. It took some time, but it's almost here, that you don't go from doing a joke fight with Jake, getting a boatload of cash, then go back to regular boxing for regular money. You can't pay Gervonta enough to roll the dice.
So when he says that he's retiring in 8 weeks, I believe him.
It was veteran trainer Kevin Cunningham who said, "The very essence of sports is to see the best versus the best, where Gervonta is not a competitor, and he's never been about that life."
I feel like the timing of this tweet was intended to address that without saying it outright, lest he get caught in a whirlwind of Gervonta Davis apologists who still make excuses for him. There are still people out there making excuses.
What I anticipate will be a thing of the past in a few weeks' time.
And what up-and-coming boxers in the next generation will not have him to aspire to, because, in case you haven't noticed, the boxing landscape in America has become particularly rocky, particularly tumultuous. All the major broadcasters are gone. No major network in this country is showing boxing right now, and the only guy pouring the most money into it,
Turkey.
Oh, he'll pay you, and he'll pay you well, but it ain't gonna be for the kind of fights Gervonta's been having. To make money in the sport moving forward, you're gonna have to roll the dice. You're gonna have to fight the best, i.e., boxing in America will be allowed to heal.
To recover and regroup away from the imposters.
Poses pretending to be pugilists. That's why I consider it a good thing. I consider it cause for celebration that Gervonta Davis is leaving. Even if we never got the Lomachenko fight, he probably would have lost.
Lomachenko would have beat him, Devin Haney would have beat him, maybe Teofimo, and definitely Shakur. He is deathly afraid of Shakur. Granted that we never got to see those fights. You can't lose what you never had.
We didn't miss out on those fights because he was never going to have them.
So I'll settle on him leaving and not wasting anybody's time anymore.
Bye, Felicia.